Lindsay Reads, Lindseyreads, who has a channel of her own, and you should check her out. Wanted Katherine Mansfield on the channel, so by God, we're going to have some Katherine Mansfield on the channel. If you have any requests of your own, leave them in the comments below, and I will try to get around to it. We are here today for a poem which will, of course, appear in the Poetry Discussion playlist. Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and here's the thing with this poem. If you are here because of class, if you were here because this poem was assigned to you, I am not naive. That is a very large portion of the views that happen on this channel. I will have an answer for you. I will give you what it is that you're supposed to write about. I will give you what it is that you're supposed to write about and get an A. Don't even think about it. But then we will have a discussion about another truth that I think this poem could represent. The poem itself, Voices of the Air by Katherine Mansfield, and it reads as such. But then there comes that moment rare when, for no cause that I can find, the little voices of the air sound above all the sea and wind. The sea and wind do they obey, and sighing, sighing double notes of double basses content to play a droning chord for the little throats that sing and rise up into the light with lovely ease, and a kind, magical, sweet surprise to hear and know themselves for these. For these little voices, the bee, the fly, the leaf that taps, the pod that breaks, the breeze on the grass tops bending by, the shrill, quick sound that the insect makes. Now, if you were here for class, and this poem was assigned to you, and you have to write 1,500 words of interpretation, whatever it is, it's feminism. That's why this poem was given to you. Take the easy A, write about feminism. I'll even show you how. Shrill is a word that is often cited as being used only against women. The shrill is in comparison to bass, the deeper note that is going to be used to represent the patriarchy, to represent masculinity itself. The little voices of the air that sound above all the sea and wind. Take this. This is to represent the oppression of women. That's your A. Look, listen to me. Listen to my experience. Do as I say, not as I did. I refused to take the easy A. I had to mealy mouth and bend around all of the expectations that were there for me. I have that literature degree, okay? I wrote my papers about things like, I had to read, what is it? I'm gonna forget the name of it. An old Chinese novel. Anyway, it was, the prompt in the class was, hey, write about how the men writing these novels were not really able to write female characters because they were men, and men are dumb, don't you know? Well, one of the novels that we had to read was what is conjectured to be the very first novel. It's a Chinese novel, The Tale of Genji. The Tale of Genji was written by Lady Murasaki. The Tale of Genji was written by a woman about a male protagonist. So, I wrote about The Tale of Genji, a meandering tale of a philandering male. I wrote about how a woman was unable to really capture the essence of masculinity. I didn't get an A. Okay, take the A. Write about feminism. Just do it. Take the A, get in honors courses, make connections so you don't have to be the guy talking into a microphone at 3:30 in the morning about poetry to no one. Get a career. It's not where I want to go. Where I want to go is here. Voices of the Air. Okay. Yeah, this is about not being part of the powerful. I would like to make this poem about the most important minority there is. That sounds very controversial to say. The most important minority? How presumptive. The most important minority? More important than what? More important how? More important to whom? The unquestionable, most important minority there is. It's the minority of one. It's the individual. The most important minority there is you. The most important minority there is me. The most important minority there is I. Always has been, always will be. The oppression of the individual is the oppression that stifles the everyone. This poem, in the way that it is written, this poem, if we go here, the sea and the wind, do then obey? The sea and the wind, as symbols, the sea and the wind are large singularities. They are the force. It's not the force itself. May the force be with you type of force. But they are the movement. They are the machine. Obviously, here they are actually nature, right? But you understand what I'm saying. They are large collectives. The wind, it's a lot of little winds. The sea, well, it's a lot of little parts of water, but it's one big thing if you're experiencing it. The wind is one big thing when it is blowing you around. When we get into the later part of... So just conceptually, the wind and the sea, very, very big things, but it's kind of impossible to say the sea is one thing. It's kind of impossible to say the wind is one thing, but it moves together. When we get down here, for the little voices, the bee, the fly, the leaf that taps, the pod that breaks the breeze on the grass tops bending by, the shrill quick sounds that the insect makes. And I even slipped up there and went against my own interpretation. I said insects. It is insect. Individual. One. Uno. The way the individual moves. The sound the individual makes. Here's the thing that makes this so truthful a poem to me. The sea. The wind. These big movements. You think about totalitarian governments. There's no questioning allowed. You think about communist movements. There's no questioning allowed. There is one way. That is the way of the wind. That is the way of the sea. That is the way of the party. The individual here, the insect. How do we take that and personalize it? How do we make that something worth imbuing with the spirit of what it means to be an individual? That movement, the totalitarian government, the communist government, the whatever movement it is that you want to say, right? The machinations of the the English department that make you write papers about what it is they tell you papers should be about. Whatever it is, right? There are no shortage of ways that larger movements seek to squash the individual. When assuming this, the only thing that can really destroy that movement, that machine which would wipe out individuality, the only thing that can really do it is paranoia. The paranoia that the individuals in your party don't really believe it. Because the movement, the machine, the wind, the sea is made up of individuals that are not questioning. All of those movements are made up of individuals who, on some level, are not questioning. You often see that many people in the movements, at some level, are questioning, but they're not willing to act that way. The paranoia within those movements that someone somewhere, perhaps the person smarter than you, perhaps just the person more ruthless than you, is thinking for themselves and will counter you, will counter the movement. That's the only thing that can keep them honest. At the risk of getting too political, one of the ideas at the core of the American experience is the Second Amendment. And the theory behind that is, whether you agree with it or not, whether you believe in it or not, is that if behind every blade of grass there's a couple AK-47s, it gets real hard for your government to become tyrannical. That is the principle behind it, however you feel about that principle. In that way, one of the ways that we live in a time that is an exception. However you want to feel about it, we live in a time that is an exception. The governments today are substantially more honest than they were in the past. Am I saying that every government in the world is very nice to its citizens? No. Not at all. But all you have to do is go back 60 years, and all of a sudden you have people, obviously in some parts of the world, not quite that long, but you'll understand the point I'm making. You had governments going door to door, just stealing your neighbors. Why? Because they got to do it. Because someone got in power that could and did. And they convinced a bunch of other people, this is the way of the ocean. This is the way of the air. The tools that we have today, whether that is Second Amendment tools, whether that is the internet itself, the democratization of opinion, which some place like YouTube itself in great degree represents with all its faults, these are the little birds, the little bees, the little flies, the leaves that tap. It is a representation of myriad opinion. And we can all make our shrill, quick sounds. Because of that, because of the Second Amendment of the mind, which is the First Amendment, right? These are the two things that shield today's world against a lot of the oppression that had happened. Are they perfect? No. Have they always worked? No. Will they always work? We'll have to see. But it's very difficult. It's very difficult when you have enough bees and flies to raise enough shrill noises. Right? And in that way, the bees and the flies, the leaves that tap, the pods that break, become more powerful than the sea, become more powerful than the wind. That is all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, literature is the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. There's poetry every Monday, and I hope to have you back for the next one.